I'm currently disconnected. This is Let's Make Stuff.
Let's make a Benny costume.
SPACESHIP!
Okay, so we'll start with the helmet first, and for that you're going to need a plastic bucket, some expanding foam, some Builders Bog, some EVA foam, some cheap sunglasses, and some blue and yellow paint. Okay, so first things first, grab your bucket and draw out a 15 by 20 centimeter square where your face is going to go. It doesn't have to be perfect because you're going to cover a rather large amount of it in foam. Now as you can see, I've got the bucket raised up off the desk so that I can get a little bit of overhang of foam at the bottom there, which is going to make it a lot easier later on to shape the helmet. Now once you've done the top and bottom, you can start on the sides. I just did a side at a time. Keep in mind that the foam does expand quite a lot. Now once you've done the whole thing, it should eventually look something like this. So now it's time to carve out a decent shape. Now for this I used a hacksaw blade with some tape around one end. It's a little bit slower than using a box cutter or a knife, but I liked it. I preferred it this way. It was a lot slower. I have to take my time. If you make any mistakes, never fear, you can just add some more foam, fill in any holes, let it dry, and then cut away as you desire. Remember to use the bottom of the bucket as a reference point. That way you get an even cut all the way around. And when you're happy with the shape of your helmet, it's time to work out on the size of the faceplate. Now for me, I worked it out to be 15 centimeters by 29 centimeters. So I took a template, traced it out, and then cut it out with a Dremel. You can use a knife or a box cutter if you like, but that worked pretty good for me. Okay, so once you've carved it out, just make sure the template fits nice and snug, and then it's time to sand it down. I used a rough sandpaper, and then moved on to a medium. Now it's time to apply the Builders Bog. Now I was tempted to use fiberglass or some kind of other hard finish, but this looked easy enough to use. You just mix two portions of a formula together, forms a rock hard surface that you can sand and paint. Just make sure you cover the whole helmet, let it dry, and then once you've done that, it's time to sand it down. And this took an extraordinary amount of time to sand this down. My only advice is, if you're going to use this, try and get it as perfect as possible when you're spreading it. If there's any mistakes you make, you're going to have to sand off and they take forever. Okay, so once you finish sanding it, it's time to coat it in some paint. Now I used a paint and primer in one, which turned out pretty well. It was a gloss deep blue was the colour. Now when the paint's dry, it's time to work on the faceplate. And when you're cutting out the faceplate, remember to add 1/2 centimeter to the top and bottom. You trace out the eyes and mouth, and what you're going to do next is cut out a groove in the helmet for the faceplate to rest in, and that way you'll have some decent contact between the actual faceplate and the helmet itself when you have to glue it down. Now it's time to coat it in some white paint and then cover it in some yellow paint. Now I then cut out the mouthpiece and just drew it out by freehand and cut it out. And now it's time to work on the eyes. Now I just grabbed an old pair of sunglasses, popped out the lenses, and just used some hot glue to hold them in place. And once I checked to see that it was okay, it's time to cut out the mouthpiece, which I made out of cardboard so I could remove it and just put it in when I needed it. And then it's time to glue down the faceplate using a hot glue gun, just making sure that the grooves are in contact with the foam helmet. And there you go, one Benny helmet. If you'd like to see how to build the rest of this costume, you can click the link on the right hand side there. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends on Facebook and Twitter, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.